Follow us on Twitter. INSiiGHTS.
Yeah.
2 I's in the middle. INSiiGHTS.
All right, y'all.
Man, oh man, it was rough getting this thing started today. That's why I know it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show, man. We were tempted there trying to get this thing started. Y'all just don't know.
The devil is a lie. He's a lie. He's a liar.
Oh man, and such a hot show to make it bad. It's a hot show. Oh my goodness, we got some coaches in here. We trying to catch that fire that Iowa thought they had, but got extinguished. But it was just so much going on in the Final Four that it was just crazy. And so we really are excited about bringing it. But before we go too far, somebody, they always sending us comments and things that they want us to be aware of. One of them was, do you know who in the NBA is from HBCU college?
He's from he played with the Clippers. Went to Tennessee State. I can't think of his name though. Yeah, I see his face. Covington. Yes. The only one. Well, he was last year. I don't know if we got another one.
Got one more you forgot about.
I have no idea.
From Norfolk State.
Wow.
Big boy, Kyle O'Quinn.
From my daddy's school. Where is he?
Kyle O'Quinn. We got those two.
Where is he?
I don't know. I'm just telling you where they are now. You have I can't give you all the damn information. You ought to be give me something, reporter.
Hey.
They gave me some information on it. They asked me that on the golf course, and I was like, I have no idea, because there was an argument that it was Robert Covington. Like you, that's the one they remembered. But when they said Kyle O'Quinn, being from the MEAC, we had to remember him too. So we appreciate that. And when we did the History Month on women, we got a pretty good one here. It said, nice presentations of women. It said, as a listener, I was wondering what advice Dr. Val Littles, the pastor, would have given to today's young women, given that many are influenced by social media and false promises of a quick wealth without a college education. You get some good comments now. You get some good comments. Then I got one said, this is from one individual. Doc sent this one to me. Doc says, Mickey sorry to respond this late. I thought that the piece on the coach who talked about the team as a family could have explained better why. That is, family athletes usually come from less privileged backgrounds in which their family lives are one of closeness, intimacy, and sharing. Many are leaving home for the first time, so the continuation of aspects of familyhood assists greatly in their adjustments towards unity and teamwork. So I may be wrong, but I'm not sure privileged white kids have the same need for families.
Deep. Preach.
I thought that was a pretty good one too. I really did. And somebody that made a comment, Dominique Reynolds. We appreciate you, Kyle O'Quinn.
Dom checking in from Richmond. And I think Dom you didn't go to Norfolk State, or you were in the band at Norfolk State, Dom? Okay.
That's all right. You got to represent, and that's
Yes.
okay that you represent. We appreciate that all the time, all the way. We really do.
Green and gold.
And gold. And with us, we got some pretty interesting coaches on board with us today. Dominique must be a friend of Rick the reporter. I got a message from you from Dr. Chiquita Miller. She told me to tell you that she was doing some work with income tax and some things, volunteering on Wednesdays, but she said after this Wednesday, she'll be back to harass you again.
Well, vacation was nice, folks.
You say vacation was nice, huh?
Miss you, Doc. Miss you.
Oh boy, you're back, huh? But we had some pretty good coaches on here, covering a range of sports or coaching legends here. You got one here. When he left coaching, we stopped covering his high school team. Yeah. And I don't do a lot of Q dogs, but this my favorite Q. And
that's saying something.
Yeah. I'm glad you know. And when we started our program with INSiiGHTS, there they go, Sports Diva. I got you, Dr. Miller. So they run tag team on you. But they rolled so well over there at Thomasville High. And that's the legend. Coach Ben Tillman, he retired this year, but he's been in the States so many times, they called it the Tillman Invitation. Welcome to the show, my football counterpart. He was my co-host during the football season this year. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, guys. Coach. I definitely am going to enjoy the show. Got a great conversation piece in NCAAs, which was kind of interesting this year.
Yes, they were. I'm trying to see what's that on your head. What's that hat you wearing?
Don't worry about my cap now. I'm just representing Charlie Ward. That's all. My God. Go ahead and say I am a Coach Hamilton and a Charlie Ward fan. So that's what that FSU stands for.
Okay. But see how the Q dog is. See, he usually don't come in like that. He usually be low key and stuff, but the real dog in it.
He fought today, huh?
The party don't start till the Q's get there. Well, I see you, Rick. But see, since he said Charlie Ward, that was a good link into a coach I ride with from Florida High. Coaches the girls over there. He's kind of following in the footsteps of his dad, another highly successful coach. Man, he had a run in girls basketball for a while there that I don't think anybody beat him for a few years. There's a young lady at Auburn, another one at Georgia Tech. He got a couple of signing. He had one of my favorites. She set a record in terms of our Dr. Woodard Academic Award. She won it every year she was there. And she went to Vanderbilt, graduated in pre-med, and she did that in less than 4 years. She sounded like one of Coach Ben Tillman's daughters because they go to school and they get out quick. And one of the things that we try to do, even in our Women's History Month, almost every single person we had on there was a former student athlete, because we want people to understand that even though you play a sport, there is no limit to what you can be if you do what you have to do academically. And so we have a component coming up where, just like the NCAA says, we got a lot of student athletes that are going to be pros in something other than sports. And he had a young lady like that. Boy, Sarah McCracken was a little special. Coach Marshall, another friend of the show, welcome. And he FSU got his stuff on. I see. Welcome, Coach.
Now this Florida High. Now let's not get it. Confused.
He said, "Let's not get it confused."
I'm gonna rap that hard.
Yes, sir. You always repping. We appreciate that. Now I got another person I'm gonna introduce. Just met him this year at Claflin, and one thing about him, I mean, we do the Claflin Athletics Show, and we talk about it all the time. We do a weekly show with them
every Thursday,
and they do represent as a family. And no matter what the information is on that show that week, Coach Dunlap is always forwarding it out, sending it out. getting information out to all his people about Claflin. And it doesn't have to be his sport, but it's his school. So that's what he does. And there goes Sports Diva. Where's the orange? The orange get ready to come with Claflin because that's one of their colors. But Coach Dunlap, in a short time, I call him a friend. Coach, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me. How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, Coach, what's happening?
Not much.
See that guy in the upper right-hand corner up there?
Yes,
that
sir.
Hat on? Watch him here. Watch him. You got to watch him. Now, he's got kids all over the country that play for him. All over the United States. I mean, talking about talent, oh, my God. They roll pretty good. And he got some kids. I mean, he got kids that came off the bench for him that didn't even start to end up going to schools and getting scholarships and playing, contributing.
That's a program right there.
Yeah. He's a guy you want to know. Everybody from Atlanta down knows that man right there, all the way to Central Florida. He just rolls like that. So, and all his kids, we got a zillion of his games up there on our show. Go ahead, Coach. You gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't know who you talking about.
That's a cute. The Q dogs ain't usually modest. Now, he ain't usually modest. Now, I had another young lady to bring in, and I don't see her, and I don't want to bring her in, and she's not there. She had a real good background. That's Coach Desir. Dion is set history. She was one of the first young ladies to coach a boys basketball team, and she had the men at FAMU High at DRS. And welcome to the show, Coach Desir. It sounds like being a mama has you really kind of strung out over there today. You gotta take that mic off. You got us muted. That's okay. Hey, we can't say nothing.
No comment.
Being a mom is a full-time job. Dads try to pass it on to mamas as much as we can, but sometimes that sucker boomerang back to us.
Another time for that conversation.
That's right.
What's up, Coach D?
Hey, sir. Sirs, how y'all doing? Appreciate it. Yes, good evening time, I should say. Good evening to you all.
Yeah, you got to watch Coach Desir, too. Now, she tries to sit there, and then she'll throw a little, she's queen of the one-liner. She'll throw a little jab at you real quick, and then she sit back, and she try to give you that little smile, and then be cutting your throat the whole time. We had to disband one of the coaches from being on the show. He was so busy trying to get a phone number that I had to mute him. I said, man, I just put him on mute. Coach, could you hook me up? Could you send me your phone? I'm like, is he really trying to do that for real on the live show?
I'm not gonna be able to do that. Hubby not gonna. Hey, you gonna bring out of South Florida for real? Pompano.
Oh no, she ain't say Pompano.
Oh yeah.
Coach Tillman, you know anything about Pompano?
Me personally, no.
Oh, I talk about Coach Tillman. He a Q dog. He think he been everywhere.
Oh.
I don't know much about Pompano. I don't know much about that.
Say you don't know much about that?
No, sir.
But see, that's one of the few times I could get you to admit that. That's one of the few times I could get you to admit that. But before we get to the elephant in the room, which is obviously, well, let me ask y'all. Has the women's tournament caught up with the men now? Or was it just an aberration this year?
I think so.
You think so? What?
I think it has, because I was eager to watch the women's tournament before the men's this year. And this is one of the few times that, you know, I didn't watch. Well, no, I can't say I did because I watched it, but you know, I knew what time, I was in place, I was ready to watch the whole thing, you know. And then the competition level, you know, the execution, the level of basketball that these young ladies played, man, it was a great show. So that, to me, it has.
Okay. Somebody else?
I've always been a fan of women's sports, and especially women's basketball. But I don't know if it's have caught on to the popularity of the men's game for sure, but definitely the skill level has definitely increased over the past years. I enjoy watching it because they are truly following the direction of the coach and everything that has been put in place by the coaching staff. They really, sometimes they very seldom go outside of the strategies, and you find that hard to do with a male sport because we think we can do everything. So, but far as the competition, I think the competition was strong. I really enjoyed watching it, especially from the Elite Eight down. It really was very competitive.
Okay. Vanessa Byers said caught up and passed the men. Coach Desir, what you think?
I think that the championship really set the level for what is to come possibly for the women's game. And with the transfer portal and what's happening, it's going to open up a lot of avenues for a lot of schools. And if the women continue to build up their skills like they have brought this past tournament, I think it's going to be interesting because I think you had a lot of the ratings, higher ratings for the women than you did the men. And I guess that's more so because of particular individuals that you had on those teams that was bringing the notoriety for their schools and their programs. So if you can have at least one or two on those within those programs and at those institutions and universities that has those skill level and that set and that can bring that name and that clout with their program when they come into the tournament, then I think you're going to have a steady flow of those high numbers to come in, not only just for March Madness, they're going to start, touching in during the regular season because the men became very, very interesting now. And I'm sure we're going to get into it. But I can tell you one thing for sure. My family, we were on the road coming back from down south and I had my phone propped up right there to watch the game. And it was like, I was like, oh, my husband was like, what happened? I was like, oh, you missed that. But he was driving. So I had to be the commentator on top of the commentator for him. But I think the women are stepping their game up and hopefully it's going to stay like this. And I don't know if it's going to be an even playing field for them, but it was good. Definitely good.
Okay. Coach Dunlap, what you think?
Well, I don't think the women passed, but I will say this, like Coach just mentioned, due to the transfer portal on the men's side, you don't have as many guys that you're going to feature as much. You had Aaliyah Boston, you had Caitlin Clark, you had Reese from LSU. So you had different young ladies that you can kind of promote and they could be the face of the tournament, where on the men's side, they didn't really have that, nor did they have really a dominant team on the men's side, in my opinion. I think on the women's side, what South Carolina has done over the past few years, and Coach Staley, they were the top of the hill, top of the mountain, and unfortunately they got knocked off. But that was a heck of a game that Iowa played, and like Coach Tillman said too, the skill level is so good on the women's side. Just watching it, they don't. A lot of them don't play above the rim, but what they do below the rim is very high level in the way they play the game.
I kind of agree with what you said there, Coach. My feeling is that there's a couple of things here. The transfer portal has a lot more balance for the men's side. And without there being a blue blood team that people recognize advancing, it kind of took away from people's interest because you either pull for them or pulled against them. Mm-hmm. Now, every tournament, and I would always tell my teams, every tournament has a Cinderella team. Well, you can't have everybody a Cinderella team. It just kind of loses its lure. The slipper gonna turn midnight on somebody and everybody at the same time. But for the women, because they don't, even Caitlin Clark can't come out early for the WNBA. She has to stay another year. So they get a longer chance to develop, nurture, and marinate their stars so you know who they are. With the guys, they come and go so quick, you basically don't know who they are unless there's somebody that you know personally. If it was Alabama coming back next year, you'd be looking for the 6'8", 6'9" wing player who kind of faded in the tournament, but he won't be there. So you almost like pick for kids that you knew. Like, isn't there a kid from Florida High that played at Auburn? I mean, I'm not a big Auburn fan, but I was watching Trey play. Then next year there's a kid from Florida High that'll be at Missouri. So, but outside of that, they don't go. But again, that's just my opinion. But the numbers don't lie.
Right.
The numbers don't lie. I mean,
people like stars, Coach. People like stars and storylines. And the women's tournament had both, from Caitlin to Aaliyah to South Carolina. And the men's Final Four, unfortunately, they did. They had, and you guys mentioned it about too many Cinderellas, no blue bloods. There was no one that people could like latch on to and say, yeah, let's get behind them. What was so special about these teams other than they were like San Diego or Miami? They hadn't been there before. I mean, that's a good storyline, but it's not going to grab your attention. Not really, unless you're the 15th seed or something like that. So
now in the men's game, was there a particular team along the way? Okay, we'll start out with the first 64. Was there a team there that kind of grabbed your interest? Was there a game that happened in that first Thursday, Friday that grabbed your interest?
With the field of 64, when it comes to March Madness, for me, I was on every channel. We were flipping through every last one of the games because that is like, it's a new season for every last one of those programs. And every last one of them are trying to get to the end of the road in what they call it on the side of the court when they play, you know, the road to the Final Four, end of the road when you get there. So it was just the excitement when you're filling out brackets. I know my family with my kids, my oldest one, she's always saying, Mommy, it's March Madness time. We're going to fill out a bracket today. We're going to fill out a bracket because they just love filling out the brackets and they love watching the games. And they hoop and holler when their team is winning. And when their team loses, you can tell the competitive comes out of them because they just get mad. Man, my team lost. Why they have to do that? He should have passed the ball. He should have did this. She should have did that.
I wonder where they get that from.
That's a very good question. I asked my husband the same thing because it definitely doesn't come from me. You know? not from me at all. But it's you know, from day one with those field of 64, and when it gets cut down, you're just waiting for that next day to come because you just know that the games are going to be that good. So I really can't, for the men's side, I really can't pick one due in part because you had teams that were upsetting or messed up my bracket, so to speak, that I had anticipated on being there, especially in the field of 32 and getting into the Sweet 16. As for the women, I sort of tuned into them a little late.
Okay, let's stay with the men now. We're going to get to the women. They're going to have their own style.
But with the men, I really don't have a team because every last one of them were good. Every last one of them were good. And as we said before, the transfer portal, as far as seeing blue bloods, you might as well just probably hang that up because now the field is expanding so much where everybody's going into the transfer portal, picking up these very good players who were actually high-profile Division I players who's decided, you know what, I'm going to go to this program, or maybe this program is giving me that big old NIL deal that this other program wasn't giving me. So you have two variables coming into play, the transfer portal and the NIL. And so now when they're going to get paid at these other institutions, now you have your FAUs. Now you have your San Diego State. Now you have, well, we can't say UConn because UConn is always, you know, they're typically going to be in there. But then you have your Miamis and all those other teams that were doing those upsets. But guess what? I promise you they probably had at least 2 or 3 guys that were either graduate transfers or they were in the transfer portal. And with the COVID extra years, the average team of being 24 years old, who in their right mind is still playing basketball at 24? You know, so that's just, it changed the game. It changed the dynamics of the game. So I didn't have a team because my bracket got busted.
Okay, but we were asking a game, and one of the things is we always watch the HBCU teams. And for a minute, Howard kind of created a problem for Kansas for a little while. Mm-hmm. And everybody was changing and turning their channels trying to say, man, Howard in the game. And then Kansas was like,
enough of this.
It was like us playing Duke, and we had a 4-point game till Krzyzewski took a timeout and raised his finger like that. We didn't get a shot for 10 minutes. And I try to explain to people, I said, I don't say we didn't make a shot. We didn't get a shot. Once they started hand checking us and putting their hands on us, we couldn't penetrate. It was over. It was over. And then we were kind of pulling for Auburn when they hit those 8 threes and got in the game, and Trey came off and played well in that first round. So we were kind of pulling for him. You know, you always have to pull for the local kids. And Coach Ben, I know when you get one of your kids rolling like that, you liable to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Trey. I've been knowing his dad for quite some time. I actually competed against him in a couple of games, but yeah, I was rooting for Auburn as well, especially with Trey on the team and to see how well he was doing as a freshman to get that kind of minutes, man, that was just huge for me. Get those quality minutes like that in such a high profile game, and but I was really pleased with his performance. But I'm like Coach Desir. I really didn't have a team per se that I wanted to just lock in with. I thought Purdue was going to do better, but here again, that fizzled out pretty quick.
Well, you know, we gave a lot of credit about the HBCUs. The only guy who has a coaching has a player in the NBA from this area is that Q dog over there, Coach Tillman, Reggie Perry.
Yes, sir.
Reggie Perry. That's the only one from Thomasville. You kind of had him from what, 7th or 8th grade, somewhere around there?
Well, I met Reggie in the 7th, 8th grade. He actually played with my son. He actually really played more basketball in Tallahassee than he did in Thomasville. He came to Thomasville in the 10th grade, but yeah, I've been knowing him for quite some time.
Yeah, congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Now, when you hear that music, you know what time it is. It's time to do some dancing. The waiting is over, and the curtain's set to rise. The madness has begun. Hello, friends. Ready to make a few shiny moments? The ball is there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star. And all I hear, no one knows just about you. Waiting for you. Anything is possible. Shining more. Do you believe it? 16 weeks runs. The world's in the blink of an eye. That progress when it's done. You always get your place, 'cause inside you knew that it was love. Come shining moment. Feel the wind in your face. It's more than a contest. It's more. There's no other team going to the Final Four. It's something about that. It always gets to basketball people. You know, it's just something about it. I mean, you just hear it, and it's like you can feel all the energy and the excitement and everything. You just can't help but get caught up in it. You know, now to get to the elephant in the room, the women's program. You know, it was. Kim Mulkey in year 2 has orchestrated a turnaround for the ages.
LSU has captured its very first national championship. Gathers her group after their valiant run for the championship game. Angel Reese celebrates with the freshman Quajay Johnson. And you can hear Kim Mulkey saying to Caitlin Carr, you're a generational player. All class from Kim Mulkey. What a year for Lisa Bruder. Coming up with the shocking upset of South Carolina in the semis. But it's Kim Mulkey and LSU who prevail this afternoon. 102-85 the final, and Kim Mulkey is with Holly Rudd.
She wants her granddaughter and grandson with her. And Coach, they say you can always go home again, and you did. And now you're bringing a trophy with you. How does this feel to bring a trophy home to Louisiana?
Coach a lifetime, Holly. This is the fourth time I've been blessed. Never in the history of LSU basketball, men or women, have ever played for a championship. And the women, I think my tears are tears of joy. I'm so happy for everybody back home in Louisiana.
Coach, this is one of the most improbable championships you could even write a script for. You had one player on the roster coming back. How did you assemble this group of women together, and how did they come together to be so strong in this moment?
Well, I have personalities, and I think a lot of these personalities coaches want to be scared of. I'm not afraid of that. I played with personalities in college. I played with a personality myself. They just are ballers. And golly, Holly, I'm just stunned. I'm blessed. I'm appreciative. It's Palm Sunday. Wow.
Go enjoy this with your team, Coach.
Thank you.
What's y'all thought?
You talking about the elephant in the room? The outfits Kim Mulkey be wearing. That's the big old elephant. Look at her. And then she set her grandkid up with that pink in the first round. That's the big elephant. Why she keep wearing them outfits?
You got to be getting paid for that, Coach.
She must be, because you couldn't dare catch me with it. It wouldn't even be a coach in a game. I'm talking about, that don't even look like a church outfit. You know what I'm saying? I just couldn't do it. I'm sorry, Coach. I just had to address the other elephant.
Let's say, speaking of the elephant in the room, huh?
Oh man. Okay, so what? So did Angel cross over? Did she step over the boundaries of sportsmanship, or what are your thoughts on that? Coach Tillman, start with you.
Oh no, I don't think so. I just think that's just part of the game. I mean, why are you gonna try to water down a person's enthusiasm? I've just never been in agreement with that. I've been in games where, if you've been in any of my games, I'm very animated. So I'm not gonna sit here and talk about a person that's animated out there on the court when they're in competition. When we're between those lines, it's between you and I. And then after the game is over, we can shake hands and go get some coffee or some ice cream if you want. But you step across that line, it's whatever it takes to win that ball game. And no, I don't think she stepped over the line. I think that we have a different rules for women, which should not be there. The same way we have different rules for basketball coaches and football coaches. I've seen football coaches run out in the middle of the field and never get a technical but never get warning or anything. A basketball coach step outside of the coaching box, he's gonna be sitting down the rest of the game. So there's are definitely double standards, but she should not be punished or criticized for anything that she did out there on that court.
Okay, Coach Clayton, as a college coach, if one of your girls had given Caitlin the John Cena you can't fade me look, would you have snatched her?
They do that all the time. We play Florida State, boy. They scoring a basket and standing over them, pointing at them when they trying to get up. Man, I wish I would bob them. As long as you backing it up, I don't have a problem. But if they drilling your behind, you better act a little humble. Just like when we recruit a point guard. We recruited point guards with girls. I always wanted a hot dog point guard because guys, you couldn't dunk. So let people see somebody who brought a little pizzazz to it, behind their back, between their legs, throw it. If you've been playing your whole life like that, I don't have a problem. As long as it gets there. Now, if you throw it in row Q, then we got an issue. But you've been working on it all your life, play it. I mean, that's we wanted our kids to have a flair with the guys and the girls. When I coached both of them, I wanted them to have a flair. I see you, Coach Marshall. Go ahead. I see you.
I agree. Like I didn't think she crossed the line. I love kids that play with that type of attitude. You know, if you, like Coach Tillman said, if you come to my game, you see me on the sideline. Now I'm not giving the other coach the hand in the face, but you know, is animated. And I this year, you know, talking to my girls about playing with an attitude. It's okay to play with the attitude. And as long as you doing what you're supposed to do and you winning, right? But two, you know, what I think people got to get used to is the referees got to get used to that as well, especially at the high school level. You know, they don't allow the girls most times to show those emotions. And, you know, a couple of my girls, I remember this year, you know, came to the locker room after the game or at halftime, you know, Coach, I want to show this emotion. I said this, I did this, and the referee told me to stop, or I'm getting a tech and sitting down for the rest of the game. So, you know, I encourage it, you know, as long as you put in the work, and long as you know, you're not crossing the line, you know, do what makes you play better. When I played, if somebody talked to me, that's all I needed. You know, I needed that extra juice, you know, for me to talk back. I needed that, you know. So I love it.
Coach Breon.
I don't have a problem with what she did. I mean, it's part of the game, and that's part of her swag a little bit, especially where she's from. You know, she was just showing excitement too at the end of the game, and like she said, she felt that when Caitlin did it, that she was bigging up her SEC counterparts in South Carolina, and she was just having some fun with it too. I think people have made it bigger than what it was. And then, truth be told, on the flip side of that, Caitlin wasn't affected by it either. Like, you know, she had done it before. When you hoop against hoopers, some things are gonna happen, and as long as your game can back it up, you good. You know, and then it didn't get to a point where it became ugly, in my opinion. So it was, and you know, the game was over at that point as well. So I didn't think she was taunting her or trying to bait her to do anything like that. She was just, you know, going back at her what she did. When Caitlin did it, she had fun with it. I think she did it against Louisville at the end of the game, so she had fun with it too. So I think she respected that, you know. And from listening to the interviews that they both had since the national championship game, you know, I think there's mutual respect there from both of them, and it's just ballers being ballers, to be honest with you.
Well, let's ask, was it racially motivated? Was it black, white? I mean, this.
Well, I'll say this: if you looked at the game, you could have made the game racially motivated if you wanted to. Even the South Carolina game, you could have made it racially motivated just because of the players that was on the court. But I mean, we can't do that. I mean, it is what it is. Like, you recruit who you recruit, and your team and your players who play for you, they are who they are. Whether black, white, red, green, or yellow, doesn't matter. I think the outside made it that way, but I didn't think it was that way between the lines, nor did I think it was that way between the players. And I don't think the coaches tried to make it that way either.
Well, I think when you go back further into the season, UConn started it with a comment that they made about the way they play defense like thugs, and because UConn just kind of had this little entitled attitude in the way that they played, and South Carolina played aggressive defense. It reminds me, Florida High boys play like that all the way to the state tournament. When they wrapped it up the year before last, when they won it on the defensive end. They didn't allow you to breathe. And they were so aggressive in their man-to-man defense. That's how they got there. And I remember telling Coach Ward, I was like, man, if you playing defense like this the rest of the way, you could win this thing. And the defensive end of it is where she hangs her hat.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought, I was curious. I'm going to ask Coach Tillman, the defensive specialist. I was curious a little bit how they were really risking their defense, how they completely gave South Carolina jump shots. And what did LSU say? They can't play us like that.
Right. I was, that triangle and two is a very good defense. I mean, it really is. And I thought that when she got with South Carolina, they just dropped the ball. They had plenty of open shots. They just did not take. And I also thought that the big girl should have came out more and had a little bit more high-low action so that she would be able to exploit her ability to shoot the basketball, because she really can shoot. But she for some reason, coach kept her inside. You just never know what their scheme was designed to go against that triangle and two. Now, coming to the next game, LSU wasn't having it, and I thought that the coach for Iowa should have made an adjustment. And anytime you play a triangle and two, you really can make those from box low. You can turn that box low and ball screens. You can turn into a man. And I felt like she stayed in the zone when she should have came out, especially with those corner threes. She should have turned it into a man and just rotated the post over, and she still would have got the same look. But she didn't. Clayton couldn't get there. The young lady, Katie, couldn't get to the corner quick enough, and it cost them. Those corner threes really hurt them in the clutches of the game. And I thought that box low, anytime you run a triangle and two, in my opinion, box low is a man. And box low and ball screens, it just turns to man principles. And if she would have done that, I think that would have pushed LSU a little bit farther out, and I think they've got them out their comfort zone.
Well, I didn't think she made many adjustments with a triangle and two. There's a lot of different ways you could run it. And yes, I didn't think she made those adjustments. Now, on the flip side, I have a lot of respect for Coach Staley, but it really seemed like she hadn't seen the triangle and two.
Yeah, she did seem like she was a little shocked. But then I felt the same way, because I said I was talking to some of our friends. We was at the frat house, of course, and some of our friends.
Well, see, honest.
So we were sitting there watching the game, and I said, "Man, let's see what these halftime adjustments going to be like." Because I know she's going to make this adjustment and take these corner threes that they're giving up, but they never did. They never did, and I was really shocked by that. And and because they were playing her front and back post. I mean, they had locked her up, so the big girl Boston couldn't do anything down in that block. But if she would have brought her out on a ball screen, let her shoot them high elbow jump shots, it would have been over, because they couldn't stop her then. But because she sat down in the post from block to block, kind of hurt them a little bit.
Well, see, I actually think go ahead, Coach Marshall, please go ahead.
Well, I was shocked to see how the South Carolina guards can't shoot. Like at the end of the day, I don't think South Carolina faced a team that made their guards beat them. They really been relying on their bigs. They 6'4", 6'5", 6'7", and who wouldn't, right? But just going that far into the season, and you got one guard that can make a play. I think that was the difference with LSU having multiple guards, multiple confident guards.
One in particular.
One in particular, right? that can make plays. And I knew going into the championship game, Iowa could not play LSU the way that they played South Carolina just for those multiple guard reasons, and it showed.
Well, once they fell into foul trouble, I thought South Carolina was going to be in trouble until that 5-year guard started hitting threes like she was hitting them. And I mean, if there was ever a time in your life to have your best game, that was the night to have it. She reminded me of Deion.
Well, I think South Carolina, teams played them pretty much the same way the entire year. It's just I think the problem was they hadn't played against a team that was so offensively gifted as Iowa.
That's true.
You got a situation where you have on Iowa's team, you have arguably you got 1A on one side and 1B on the other side as best player in the country, and she makes everybody else around her better. And then they have girls on their team that can make shots, and then they had an inside presence as well. I don't think they had played against a team that was that good offensively all year long. They had played against other teams, besides LSU, but they're familiar with LSU, right? They're in the same conference, so we know each other. We know each other, but how to get underneath each other's skin and so on and so forth. But playing against Iowa in that type of situation, and then no shots, whether they be wide open or not, you're in the national semifinals. It's a totally different shot than I'm shooting in a game 2 in the regular season than I'm shooting it then at that point in time. And then if we get behind, now it becomes even a harder shot to make. So, we're in that situation, 24, 23, 22, doesn't matter the age. It's still a tough shot. You're in a big time environment. And I think that because Iowa was able to continue to put pressure on them on the offensive end of the floor, which other teams hadn't been able to do, and have one person be so dominant. I mean, she had 41 points in the game now. Let's not get it twisted. She had 41 points, and I think she had 11 assists. So, and they only had like 70 some odd points. So she played a part in more than 80% of their points that they scored. And I think defensively is where they got broke down. And because they're such a good defensive team, and Coach Staley has built their program on the defense side of the ball and their toughness, I think their toughness a little bit was challenged because they had someone that can do those things against them. A little bit, and I think that hurt them mentally more than anything.
Well, you said something. You said something there because she was getting it done.
Yeah.
Caitlin is special, and it reminded me of how Bird and Magic saved the NBA with their rivalry when they played and came through college. Caitlin, I was trying to figure out how she was player of the year because I had never seen her play. And I was just trying to figure out how she was player of the year. And first time I saw her, by the end of the first quarter, I said, oh, shit, I see how she's player of the year. Not only could she shoot it, create her own shot, pass off the dribble. I mean, look away passes, the size she has. She's shooting contested 3-pointers on people, step back threes. I mean, she gets all the respect. And when my wife fell in love with her, she said, oh, yeah, that's the girl who changed. She's the best. And then she go out and beat you. And already people want to see her play next year.
I think you guys are absolutely right. But one thing too, South Carolina is a completely defensive team by far, and they focus completely on defense. But if you really look at it, it's not 94 feet. They don't pressure that ball 94 feet. And when they do pressure at 94 feet, because Caitlin was so quick and able to have such a quick release, it didn't work. So I can see how they could get blown out by Iowa, but then turn around. If they would have played LSU, they beat LSU because LSU guards are not going to shoot that 94-foot. They ain't gonna shoot that ball that deep from the logo. They're not gonna do it. And so, but that gives South Carolina a chance to get back in their defensive sets and defensive schemes half court. But with Iowa, they weren't doing it. They were making a lot of transition buckets. They did not turn the ball over. It to me, I just like, oh wow, these girls can really handle that basketball and get it to the right place. I love their press breaker. It went up the sideline, straight to the middle to Caitlin, and she's pulling up. And so she's taking one dribble and she letting it fly. I mean, what you gonna do with that? I mean, it was just amazing to me to just sit there and watch the strategies between the two coaches. and then LSU come back and knock down those huge shots in that first half that really pushed it away.
Coach Tillman, you said something. You could tell they had seen that ball denial to Caitlin because they had practiced it. They entered the ball on the other side. Caitlin's on a dead run. One pass, second pass to her in the middle. She pull up shooting a three. And I mean, they knew that people, I mean, she had seen that before. And that they were prepared running it. And their transition offense, they sending the big girl right down the middle of the floor and out running South Carolina down the floor. You know, I had no questions about them and how good they were. And Dominique Reynolds, I appreciate you. He said South Carolina had 24 offensive rebounds. He said they had a terrible shooting night. You're absolutely right, Dominique. Thank you. We appreciate you. Was an exciting game? Are you ready to see? What can Iowa get back next year? They had a lot of seniors.
Yeah, I mean they're going every night in and night out. They're gonna have the best player on the court. So, I mean that's always help. That always helps.
Now,
I mean, with the go ahead. I was just gonna say with the transfer portal, I think you're always going to be able to pull and bring people in because that's what LSU did. 9 of their players were new coming in, and they had to gel very quickly in order to get that championship. I think one of the things with South Carolina, if you looked at it, you really didn't have anybody that could. I thought Cook was going to guard Clark, and they didn't put Cook on Clark. And I guess that was my husband said, you know, they were going to fatigue her out if she would have did that to try to pick her up 24 feet because then you had number 24 for Iowa that could also shoot the shot. So South Carolina, they have some guards, but they're big guards and they were like slow on the movement. So that's one of the reasons why Dawn Staley has gone about recruiting the number 1 player in the nation this year. She's a point guard. So she's going to South Carolina. She's going to be able to bring that assistance. They got another guard that's in the top 20, 25, I believe, that's going to South Carolina. So Dawn Staley, I think she recognized that she didn't have the true type guard play that she needed. She had guards that were big, but they weren't really true guards that she really needed to go against these other teams that had true guards like LSU. So you have those situations to where she's recognized they were unable to do it. They packed the paint because they knew that's where your punch power was. They didn't have the guards that could shoot. And the one shooter that they thought they could bring in, I don't know her name. I hate to describe her this way, but, you know, the white young girl, she came in and she was cold as turkey. She didn't want the ball. She gave it up. So she had to sub out and try to go back to her ace card, which was her post players. But unfortunately, officials put them in the box, the penalty box, and they were there. And LSU showed up, and Reese, she just did what she did, and she just let them know, don't disrespect me, and I won't disrespect you. But one thing for sure, just in case you didn't see me, I'm gonna get a little closer so you can see me one more time, and then I'm gonna make sure I say, I'm gonna get this. You make sure you see this. You know, I'm going out and I'm gonna let you taste this. So, you know, it was all fun and game. Could she have gone a little too far? It depends. But at the same time, we don't know what was said behind closed doors, or maybe what was said on social media, or maybe what she's heard from somebody else. Because, as Dawn Staley said, Bluter, she said, bar fight. You know, they are like bar fight.
Coach Azir, I'm trying to hold the phone up. We have a caller. Let me see if we can get you because it didn't come in on our board here. Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
We're good. We have. What's your question you have for your panel, or comment you'd like to make for us?
My comment is,
hello?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. It cut off after you said my comment is, and then that was it.
My comment/question is, while not discounting the skill set of the coaches that are on the panel, I also understand. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're letting you talk. Hello?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I was hearing you then. You said not discounting the coaches that are on the panel, and then you stopped.
I'm sorry. Not discounting coaches on the panel. My question/comment is, how am I breaking up? Apparently we can't hear each other.
I hear you, and then it breaks off, and then you come back and you say, "Can I hear you?"
My comment/question is, the ability of the South Carolina the guards and the LSU guards saying, you will not disrespect us like that.
Yeah, she did say that, and we agree, and that can help motivate them.
Okay, and I apologize. Maybe it's my connection, and I do apologize for interrupting the show.
No, we want you to. We want you to call. That's fine. We wanted to hear you.
When the LSU guards said you will not disrespect us,
right?
By allowing us to just shoot these shots,
Mm-hmm.
the guards carried the game.
They did.
The guards carried the game.
They did.
Because they were ready and they were equipped and they played defense.
Absolutely, you're right. I don't think Pamela, y'all pretty much agree with that comment. He said the guards carried the game and played on both ends of the floor for him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean we would agree.
I think that the conversation I think about Angel Reese came not so much about how she performed when she did have a double-double and they had to lead with her on the bench, was they were on Angel Reese about her comment about the ring, pointing to the ring and bothering. They felt that she was harassing Caitlin Clark. That's how she got pushed in the center of that. But that wasn't the play or the player that determined the game. I agree with you. The guards did do that. And please don't apologize for calling. We wanted to hear that call because we get ready to talk about your comments now.
But didn't Joe Burrow do the same thing about shooting his ring?
Yes. Yes.
So in my mind, and I could be completely wrong, and I hope somebody corrects me. In my mind, this is all about race. This is all about race. This is all about race. This is all about race.
Hmm.
We did touch on that.
Because when the first lady says, "Oh, let's invite Iowa," because they played a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I played a lot of good games, and I'm not that good. But you do not get invited to the White House because you were the runner-up.
I agree with you. And we thank you for the call.
The coach's aspect on if you were a runner-up in a category, would you want to be invited to, and I wouldn't blame you, would you want to go to the State House? Would you want to be invited to the White House because you were the runner-up?
Well, you know, we appreciate your call, the first caller that we've had. And we appreciate you calling in, but we are going to discuss that. And we're going to get some information so we can send you something. He had a real good point there, you know, and I mean, the guards did carry him. That's the one we were saying that played so well the first half when Marshall was in foul trouble and they let her shoot. And even once she got hot out there, they couldn't stop her. You know, but he wanted to know coaches, and I'm going to ask you, coaches, and I think I already know the answer. You going to be happy being invited as the runner-up?
To hell to the no. We don't even like receive the medal. We're a little slow trying to go get the trophy or, you know, at a state championship. You really don't like walking out there on the floor trying to get the runner-up trophy. You know, I got to do it because we got to show class, it's professionalism. But at the end of the day, no, you shouldn't have to do the runner-up thing. You're there for the championship, and that's the bottom line to it. And I think a lot of people are seeing this as a racial issue, only in part because all the LSU players were predominantly Black. All the South Carolina players were predominantly Black. I don't think you had one Black person on Iowa's team. I don't even know if one of the coaching staff members were Black.
Yeah, they
did have a Black assistant.
They did. You know, so
but
you know,
the media made it that more than anything else. I don't think the players were really that caught up in it. You know, I think they just played, but it's the media, I think, that kind of played into that more than anything else. And Jill Biden didn't help, you know, with that comment that she made. I remember winning we lost in the conference championship at Georgia Southern one year. They shot 54 free throws. We shot 8. They beat us when we had 4 players left in the game, was their first lead. We ended up with 3. And that run-up trophy never made it back in Florida A&M trophy case. And when I asked them about it, they were like, Coach, that thing alongside the interstate somewhere. It might be down 84 somewhere. We threw that out the window. You know, so coaches, what's your thought? But we have a society now that does participation. And everybody gets a participation award. And I got a grandson now, and grandsons, and I'm trying to teach them, you may get a participation award if you go get some ice cream after the game, but you learning we need to win. And I got one grandson, he having a fit. I mean, he's like going through histrionics. He trying to win. And my daughter's like, Daddy, I don't know. I think he takes it too seriously. I said, well, would you rather have to calm him down or get him ready? I said, I'd rather teach him to calm him down, to get him right, rather than that. I said, because we'll teach him that. But coaches, let me hear your thoughts.
No, don't call me to come if I'm runner up. I ain't going nowhere. So I agree with that. And like you said, from the media standpoint, I do think this was racially provoked. I knew it was some trouble after Iowa beat South Carolina. I was waiting to hear the narrative after that, when a team full of white girls beat a team full of black girls, and to go to the championship game. I felt that coming. For the first time in a long time, Sunday I'm at my aunt's birthday party, and we're watching the championship game. And I got older, my moms and aunties and grandmas, everybody from Quincy, older people. So it was interesting to hear, who they were cheering for and why they were cheering for them, and and the stuff that comes with that. So I do think it was racially motivated from the media standpoint.
From the media standpoint, it's like long time ago we had a fight in the gym in the Civic Center between FAMU and Florida State men's team. And I was an assistant coach on the bench then when that happened. Charlie Ward was playing. I mean, FSU was loaded. Charlie Ward and Bob Sura, Sam Cassell, Doug Edwards. I mean, they were loaded, and they were blowing us out the first half. And we started pressing. Man, we came back and took the lead. And I remember telling Coach, I said, Coach, we're going to need to get to halftime because we out of gas. And we had a fight break out. And the thing about it is, the guys play with each other all day, every day, all spring, all summer. So the stuff that goes on, for the most part, the kids get along. The basketball players want to play against other good basketball players. Mm-hmm. All of us played. And when you were coming up, you wanted to know the park where all the players were. That's where you wanted to go. You didn't want to be over there playing somewhere where the guys couldn't play. You would drive all the way across town to go to the park where the players were. That's how you measured yourself, because you knew if you didn't win, you might not play for 2 hours. Because you got to go sit down. And Caitlin says she don't take that stuff seriously. I mean, she don't want to be drawn in the middle of that, because as much junk as she talk, it's just part of the game.
And that's and speaking on behalf of the media, I mean, they did take the lazy way out. And I listened to Coach Staley's press conference, and I was just waiting to hear the narrative of that game. And then I listened afterwards to the LSU's championship press conference to hear that as well. And there are some people in our profession, in my former profession, that's lazy, and that's the first thing they think of. And a lot of people listen to what we have to say. And I was very careful when I was a writer, a full-time writer, not to do that, because it's easy to race bait. That's easy. That's like pulling the race card. It's so easy to do that. And I thought they did a horrific job of that against South Carolina all year, because South Carolina reminded me of Georgetown when they were coming up in the 80s when they were good. I mean, it's pitiful. It's a shame.
And they were another defensive minded team. And they would
Who
get
couldn't
after
shoot.
yeah, and they were inside oriented. You know, and they would get after you, and they would you know, they would play with some swag too, even though it wasn't swag back then, but it was still swag. So you know, a lot of similarities in that piece for sure. They were inside out, defended, were tough minded, were coached by a tough coach who was disciplined, all that stuff. So you know, and in any team that you play against that's really good defensively, they're going to be physical. Like it is what it is. Like they're going to be physical. They're going to stop you in your drives. They're going to put bodies in front of you. When the shot goes, they're going to hit you. They're going to go rebound the basketball. Like that's just, I mean, that's just part of it of a team who's really good defensively. I mean, no one says it about the University of Virginia, but they're the same way.
Well, coach, let me ask you, coach. Wasn't Iowa physical too?
Iowa was. They, in a different way too, but they were physical as well. So I mean, the women's game I thought was very. The tournament itself, the Final Four, I thought was very physical. I didn't think in a dirty way. I thought all the teams were playing hard and they was trying to win a championship. And I think that was just part of it.
And I'd like to say a special thank you to our first caller. No, please don't apologize for calling. We were encouraging you to call. We want to hear, and we're supposed to be able to have it where it comes straight through the board. We're gonna work through it some more so that we could get it. We have another call in. Well that's good. Hello, welcome to the show. Hello, you're on. Hello. Okay, we didn't quite get him, but I enjoyed the fact that we're getting some callers in because we want to hear from you. We're gonna figure it out better so that when you call in, we'll get it straight on the board. We don't have to hold the phone up. And I appreciate my coaches, man. These are pretty much our ride or die here. I mean, we can get to these people that you see right here. We're gonna get some information. We're gonna send them something. You know. They're always on INSiiGHTS. They're always willing to help us and work with us. And we try to do some things for them, you know, to help them with what they're doing and their programs. You know, we call it the INSiiGHTS family, and we try to work real hard and close together. As Chelsea Johnson says, our hashtag, one of them is "It's About the Kids." You know, so we try to provide opportunities. We try to provide things like we get ready to do some things a little bit more on the academic end to get people to understand that there's options available to you. We have a guy that's coming on next week that's over the engineering thing. He's going to be really interesting. He just gave away some scholarship money. And we want our kids to find out and to be exposed to different opportunities that are out there for you above and beyond athletics. And yes, each one of the coaches that you see here, I know for a fact they stress the academic end to their kids. They stay on them. They provide opportunities for them to get tutoring, to get assistance in what they're trying to do because they want to prepare them for life. And if you haven't followed INSiiGHTS, you need to. Click down there, subscribe to us. That way people will know that you're watching it and your friends will say, they'll come back and say, the Q Dog watches this channel. You know, so and once you see that, then you know to follow it because he's following the channel.
Hey, Coach.
Yes, ma'am.
I think with that last caller, they did make a statement in reference about the other, all the other guards, almost the role player guards that really stepped up in the game. I think what Coach Kim Mulkey did in preparing her team when they sat there after the game, they watched that whole game. And when they went back to the hotel, they talked about how they got together and decided what they were going to do. If I was going to present them with that same stage that they presented to South Carolina, they were going to step up with confidence and they were going to shoot. And Carson and the young lady, I think her name is Poa, P-O-A. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but they stepped up. And when you have role players and they do above and beyond what they average, they're doing more than what they usually average during the season, then you're going to have a very, very good game because they were only averaging like 4 points a game, but she turned in 21 points in the first half. And so did Poa. She put in like 12 points. So the caller, you know, they had a very good point that the other players, the guards, they stepped up, they held it down for their post players, especially when they got in foul trouble. So when your role players are able to step up in a big way, when your normal players are not really putting in the first half, but they come in the second half, then you, for the most part, you're probably going to win the game.
Mm-hmm. Coaches, anything else y'all like to say?
I would like to say, don't expect to see the Blue Bloods to continue to control the men's Final Four. I think it's a lot of this AAU situation that's going on. These guys are playing against each other, all year round. So nobody's scared to go play Kentucky or Duke or North Carolina. I think with the talent level everywhere now, it's just going to bring a lot of good basketball. So, I expect to see more 9 and 8 seeds making it to the Final Four than normal on the men's side.
That's a good point. There's something I just thought about in terms of what you just said, though. A lot of these programs now have these teams that have been together for 3 or 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. You can even see it in the body shape of some of the guys. They're men, they filled out, they worked out, and the kids at the blue blood schools, they only stay in a year or 2 and they're out. And a lot of them are losing to teams that have 4 and 5 year starters and they're 23, 24 years old, Coach Desir, and they're making that difference. And those of us who coach can look at them and tell, they're like, man, they playing against some men tonight. They're going to have to come with it. Yep. And it's a different game. All of us went to the park and played. I keep talking about that. But you always had some old men in the park. There wasn't nothing you could do with. It was nothing you could do with them, boy. And they talk to you the whole time. Come here, young boy. Let me show you. You ain't got nothing. Come here. Same thing. Now, I really think that some of these blue blood schools, they're going to up that NIL.
That's the only way.
Well, I think it's going to be more so of how the NCAA starts to control the NIL and what grasp or what hold they put on the transfer portal. Like what's next? And then after I believe this is the last year of being the COVID year, so to speak. So then moving forward, what's going to be next after that? I think there will be some new rules put in place just so they can kind of curtail that so that they don't have as many Cinderellas being in the Final Four. As much as we love the stories and so on and so forth, at the end of the day, if the dollars aren't starting to make sense, then some things are going to happen.
Coach Dunlap, the NCAA is going to be in trouble. There is one loophole that they pointed out, and that is you can restrict them in saying after your first year in the transfer portal, you can play automatically, but they're talking about your second year, you're going to have to sit out. That's what they're proposing. But there's one loophole. You can claim mental illness. And with mental, you get an automatic play. And there's no way that you can really curtail that because you can't tell me that there's something wrong with my mind. If I say, hey, I got a mental, I need to go home, because it's a mental issue, you can't tell me yes or no. And I don't think there's a physician that can really try to sit there and diagnose that. Hopefully kids will not really start playing it that way. But that's the one loophole that is going to hurt the NCAA. And when it comes to the NIL, that's how, those blue blood schools, they're going to get hurt. Transfer portal, NIL.
Well, there you have it, boy. Coach Desir has spoken. Now, she's going to say her piece now. and she coaches those boys. I mean, she's got some guys over there that, they don't play with Coach Desir now, as you could probably tell.
Hey, Coach.
Yes,
a caller just hit me up on text, or a listener hit me up on text, and asked the panel, do you think there were more NBA players in the men's Final Four or more WNBA players in the women's Final Four?
That's an unfair question.
I'd say
if the women's players could leave early, it was more WNBA players.
I totally agree.
Yeah. I think that's an unfair question. And especially I'm a female, and you can have very good skills and you can get picked up in the WNBA. But on the male side, you can have very good skills and you won't get picked up. you're either going to the G League or you're going someplace else. And there's a lot of guys that in our eyes, we think they are NBA players, but they don't end up being NBA players. They end up going to the G League. They end up going across seas, and those other new leagues that they're developing and allowing them to play in, that's where they go. And we don't hear anything from them anymore. Just as much as I love the young man, Jay Martin from Florida High, that's a hot topic right there. We want him to do exceptionally well. Well, this is ending his second year and they're expecting for him to try to go to the league, but is he league ready? So like I've been told from a lot of coaches on the next level, it's a dog eat dog world when it comes to a male trying to play on that next level professionally. So I don't think that's really a fair question, because you're going to have more females that's able to make it in that market than you do for the males.
Rick, I appreciate you getting that text. But I would vote that it's going to be more out of the WNBA that's going to make it. And they're going to be in the college ranks playing longer. They're going to be seasoned and matured by the time they come out. And even now, when you look at the NFL draft, I mean, one of the things they look at, even in the NBA, they look at the age of these student athletes and they try to figure out how much growth potential is left. And when you get them at 22 and 23, they say that, they don't have much room to improve, and they'll take a chance on an 18, 19-year-old kid and feel like he'll grow into it a little bit better. But ladies and gentlemen, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I want to thank all of you for being here for a lively discussion, Coach Azier, I appreciate you. Coach Tillman, my favorite Q. Coach Dunlap, one of my new friends. Look at it, bud. Rick, you're looking down, you missed all of that. So you missed that. But if somebody told me to tell Rick he need to make sure that he stay awake next time. Coach Marshall, I remember your words. I ride with you. I ride with you,
man.
Ladies and gentlemen, basketball coaches, I appreciate y'all, and I love the fact that we could put something together and get the basketball coaches together and respond and just kick it and talk about things in the type of form that we have. The callers that sent messages and text.
Thank you. We thank you for that. and we thank you, as always, coaches. Y'all are the best, most definitely.
All right, y'all.
We appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Any final words from anybody? Any final words?
Nah. We just appreciate y'all for having us on, and just know that March Madness is going to be different next year as well. And it's just going to be a great anticipation for us to sit back and just wait to see what's going to happen. And I will tell you one thing, because Coach Marshall hit on it. The way that they do the seedings, the committee people, they better start really going to go watch some games instead of going off the names on the jerseys. Really go see what the talent is like, and then see them that way instead of, I think they need to go there and I think they need to go there. No, because your number ones were thought wrong, so that's why they actually got out.
Boy, I love that. Dominique, boy, you've been repping, enjoyed it. Behold the green and gold. Proud alumni, North Carolina State. Boy, you gotta love it. Boy, you have to love it. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a happy Easter, joyous Easter. Y'all do the things you need to do. Family time.
Stay up to date with the latest from INSiiGHTS. Visit our website at INSiiGHTS.com. 2 I's in the middle. INSiiGHTS.
INSiiGHTS is a copyright of Mac4 Enterprises, Florida Corporation. This broadcast is produced under exclusive ownership of Mac4 Enterprises. It is the intellectual property and trademark of Mac4 Enterprises. Comments of the host and other individual speakers on INSiiGHTS represent their independent thoughts and representation.
Man, that was a really good show. That was a good show.
Loved it.
Hey, you gotta tell your boy Dominique he's welcome anytime. I hope he comes back again. Coach,
that's my cuz.
I appreciate you, man, as always.
Appreciate you.
Way to go, cuz.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you talk to your cohort. I won't mention his name.
I got it. We're about to get on the plane here at 5 o'clock this in the morning. Head out to Cali.
Oh, well, you enjoy yourself and handle your business. Bring some more so we can get to that NCAA Division II championships. So we can come over there and cheer for Claflin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We appreciate y'all. Good
Thank you.
night.
Appreciate you. Y'all be good.